presents to you Honest Talk.
Hi folks, today Madam Sangeeta Robinson is going to join us for talk. A postgraduate in communications from Punjab University, India, Sangeeta Robinson has 2.5 decades of rich and diverse experience leading communications, sustainability and inclusion at the Tata Group, Cummins, IBM and PVR Cinemas. She has been widely recognized for her innovative approach to communications and sustainable, value-creating strategies. More recently, she has spearheaded accessible entertainment for people with disabilities in India by addressing infrastructure constraints and use of enabling technologies. So, let's begin our talk with Madam Sangeeta Robinson.
So first of all, ma'am, I welcome you to in this session. Thank you so much, ma'am, for joining and agreeing to share your thoughts with us. We are extremely very happy to have you for today's talk.
My pleasure, completely. Thank you.
Thank you so much, ma'am. It's our pleasure too. So moving to the topic of today's session, which we have chosen is accessibility and inclusion with respect to the rights of people with disabilities at 2016. Ma'am, my first request, or rather say it's a first question to you, ma'am, kindly tell our viewers what is rights of people, rights of person with disabilities at 2016, what it says.
Yeah, the Rights of People with Disability Act, which was notified in 2016, covers a lot of aspects, including basic rights with regard to education, employability, accessibility of public spaces, and also of the electronic spaces, considering they are a very integral part of our lives. And now with the pandemic turning our lives around, I also see that there's a huge opportunity there for people with disabilities to gain access to places that they were otherwise deprived of. So as we all know that there is reservation in government jobs and in certain government institutions as well, but that's not what the aim of the RPWD Act is. The aim of the RPWD Act is to be able to make the ecosystem in India inclusive, and that only means that wherever there are stumbling blocks, either physical or virtual or in any other manner, they may be removed, and whatever enablers need to be put into place should be put into place, so that people with disabilities can lead as normal lives as possible. That's the gist of the Act.
All right, ma'am, you have covered so many things, and I think those who are watching this session, of course, they are going to learn from many things from it. Ma'am, my next question to you: what do you believe? What are the problems generally faced by differently able people in public places?
Right from when a person on a wheelchair or a person who is visually impaired, from the time that that person leaves his or her own house to each and every aspect in our country is a stumbling block. So if you visit, those of you who have visited Europe and USA will see the difference, and such a stark difference. So from something as basic as public transport, where in the West all buses are low floor, and when a bus stops at a bus station, the level of the bus is equal to the level of the pavement, so that a person on a wheelchair can just wheel himself or herself in. So whether it's a bus or a tram or a metro or a train, life has been made, there's been a certain thought that has been put into place, so that anybody with any kind of limitation can move around easily. However, that's not the case in our country. In our country, even though in Delhi now, for example, I was driving down South Delhi, and there's a bus stop and there's a slow tapering slope on one side, but you go a little ahead and there are piles of cables that are kept on the pavement. So if a person has to move from the bus stop to take access to go to his house, there is no way, because there are cables lying there, and nobody thinks much of it, because you have squatters on the pavements, you have ditches, big gaddas that have been dug. Then, to make matters worse, without following universal guidelines, there are universal guidelines that are in place that allow for inclusion. However, our PWD doesn't bother about universal guidelines. They've been told that you have to make an incline on one side and sing. The bus stop itself is a foot high. So how do we expect the person on a wheelchair to come off? Similarly, as far as people with who are visually impaired are concerned, now if that cable is lying there, a person who's using a white cane needs to feel his way on the pavement, but the pavement has an obstruction there which he cannot navigate. So I think we as a nation have thought about this very late. But even though we've thought about it and we have an act in place, the implementation of that act is not happening. Because what is happening is that the allied departments and ministries are not conforming to the act. So the Ministry of Social Justice and Empowerment, under whom the act comes, I think it is imperative that the Ministry of Social Justice and Empowerment speaks to other ministries and departments to be able to make this happen. But it's not happening in the capital city, leave alone the rest of the country, because first let's get the capital of the country comply to it.
All right, ma'am. Yes, please continue.
Yeah, so this is as far as the physical spaces are concerned. Then the virtual spaces themselves. When the announcement was made, when the pandemic started, an announcement was made that about 200 odd universities would be in a position to give online degrees. It was a very heartening, news for people to hear. But how was one to know that this meant? I took that opportunity and I thought, let me just assess the websites of the top 100 universities. And frankly, not one of them qualified completely. About 15% complied, about 80% to the web communication accessibility guidelines 2.1. So as per that, we assessed for the blind, visually impaired, people with color blindness, people with limited use of their hands, to see how these websites are accessible. But I'm saying just about 14% were about 80% accessible. Not even one was 100% accessible. So we have constraints both in the physical spaces as well as the virtual spaces.
All right, ma'am. Ma'am, when yesterday I was reading your profile, I have seen that you are continuously raising a voice from many last year on this topic. It's really great to listen, and I think, of course, those viewers watching this session, they are going to learn, and of course, they are going to take care, and of course, they are going to raise voice on it. Ma'am, my next question to you: what do you believe? What can be the ways to make society more inclusive for people with disabilities?
First of all, I think we need to be able to understand and accept that everybody doesn't have the same abilities. So and frankly, I'm not asking anybody to look at it from the charity lens. I've been associated with PVR since February 2018, and we got in touch because my association started because PVR wanted to make cinemas accessible for people with disabilities. Now, if only we realize that apart from doing something good, it is also being able to reach out to a segment that you have not reached out to and not thought about. So if PVR has invested and mind you, in the last 2.5 years, the company has invested a considerable amount in making cinemas accessible. In fact, we launched the first 50 cinemas on December 3rd, 2018, which required minor changes and modifications and assistive devices. But the next 50 was to happen in April. But because of the lockdown, 32 machines that have come from Europe are still lying in the warehouse. And I'm hopeful that as soon as cinemas open, we will be able to make those cinemas live. Point is that if in the last 2.5 years, if a company like PVR has invested in making cinemas accessible for people with disabilities, they will be gaining out of it as well. So while they did it with from the business, from the point of view of a business responsibility, they also will be, in the long run, it'll be a business benefit and a business imperative. The first thing that has happened when we made the first announcement was that suddenly people started looking at PVR in a very positive manner, because and when I speak at conferences and events and talk about the initiatives that have happened, people are very positively influenced, and of course brand image goes up, the brand loyalty goes up. So hence I'm saying that people who have people with disabilities in their family would then make PVR the preferred brand. And I'm saying that there is not just a social responsibility here, there's also a business case. So those people who don't want to consider people with disabilities out of their business responsibilities can look at the business case. There's a revenue stream that is lying untapped.
All right, ma'am. It's really great to listen that PVR is working on this regard, and of course, I can say that you people are going to set a great example for other brands too. Ma'am, my next question to you is: mental disability are also covered under the Right of Person with Disability Act 2016?
Yes. So, in fact, between the last census and this census, the difference is that the number of disabilities has gone up to a great extent. A lot of disabilities, I'm actually forgetting the number, but I think so the number of disabilities have in the next census will be about 21 or 22 odd disabilities, whereas in the last census there were, I think, about a lot less. So the government has also re-looked at how they define disabilities. So having said that, definitely a mental disability and cognitive. So we will there are two categorizations that were made in census 2011. One was mental illness, and the other is cognitive disability. So mental illness would be what would be called acquired, would be called the kind of people who require psychiatric help because they have a mental imbalance. However, cognitive disabilities are cover autism, learning disabilities, cerebral palsy, and so on and so forth. So basically we must be able to make a distinction here, because somebody who is mentally unstable is not the same as somebody who has a learning disability or something like that. I think the first time people actually got to know that there's something called autism, or there's something called learning disabilities was when the film Tare Zameen Par came. Because before that, any child who was not able to learn the normal way was called all kinds of names. And point is that, like, it is a difference. It is not a deficiency. It is a difference. Like, somebody has brown eyes, somebody has blue eyes, somebody has black eyes. Similarly, it's a different kind of person who learns differently, whose capabilities are different. However, we have this tendency, and that is why we have biases that are conscious and unconscious, because we have made up our mind that anybody who is different from us is not normal. And that's the very place that we have to unlearn our understanding. And problem is that we have this great tendency of, so when I started working on the disability space with PVR, most people I spoke to could only understand people on the wheelchair. The point is that even in physical disabilities, there are various degrees of disabilities. There would be a person on a wheelchair, there would be a person who works on crutches, there'd be a person who has an artificial leg, there would be a person who has joint problems, there could be a person who can walk otherwise but has trouble climbing stairs, and that includes elderly people. As you grow older, you have problems like joint pains. Does that mean that if your grandmother has arthritis, she will stay at home while the rest of the family goes for a film? It's not right. So point is that as a country, we need to be more inclusive, and we need to be able to embrace diversity. When there are about 7 to 8 million people in this country who have a disability, are you saying that we should just leave them behind and the rest of the world continues to progress? But that's not what's going to happen. And I spoke about reservation in the beginning. There's 3 to 4% reservation. However, ever since the reservation came, there is the fulfillment ratio of that reservation has never been beyond 1%. It has always been between 0.76 to 0.86%. Why? Because we have gone and made reservation in jobs, but we haven't bothered about education. So your pipeline is empty. Then you say that, oh, well, we don't have enough qualified candidates. Obviously, you don't have enough qualified candidates because you have gone and made reservation only at this thing. In a village, for example, a poor person who has a child with disability, how is that person going to get the child to school? When the road is broken, it is stony, it is saying, how will the poor family who probably are daily wage workers, ya to the one parent sits at home, carries the child to school, waits while the child studies, and obviously if the school has steps, then carries the child up and down, and then brings the child back. And as the child grows, it becomes difficult, and hence he will not be able to go to school any longer. He might be as brilliant as ever, but because he's become too big and the mother can't carry him on her back any longer, so he has to drop out of school. So our facilities are not geared to be able to have an inclusive environment, and that's our problem.
All right, ma'am. Again, you made a very good point, sir. I really appreciate this, ma'am. My next question to you is, how does stigmas affect people with disabilities?
I will tell you. I had got contacted the NGO Sarthak, and Sarthak, what it does is it has a big data bank of people with disabilities, and then companies like IBM, Microsoft, etc., that consciously hire people with disabilities, hire from them. So I was starting that in PVR, and I asked them to send me some CVs, and I specifically said that this is for the cinema halls, for the ESPs, which means 12th pass. The qualification I require is 12th pass, and I can see freshers, or I can see people with 1 or 2 years experience. So this boy walked into the interview room, and he was limping a little bit, And when I looked at his papers, he was an MA in mass communication from Banaras Hindu University. He was as qualified as I am, and he was coming for a job with for an ESPA job. So I looked at his CV. I said, "Why have you come?" And he says, "Ma'am, because my disability, nobody is giving me a job." The boy's confidence, I mean, he was from a university that's actually rated better than the university I did my mass comm from, or maybe equivalent. I'm from Punjab University. And he had his one leg was 2 or 3 inches shorter than the other. Incidentally, I have a 17-inch shortening, and I wear a artificial leg. But when I told him that, I said, I said, "How much is your shortening?" And he says, "It's 3 inches." And I said, "Okay, but mine is 17 inches. He did not understand what I was saying. I stood up and I walked across and I told him, I said, "I have a 17-inch shortening." And he couldn't believe it. The point is that society makes you so conscious of your disability that you cannot think beyond your disability. So all the other capabilities that you have as a person are then clouded because all you are is a disabled person. He was not a mass communication graduate, postgraduate. He was a disabled person. So the point is that we, as a nation, I think we don't work on the capabilities of a person, and I'm very interested in actually working with schools and colleges to be able to help to work on the confidence building part, because the confidence gets so shattered that even if they have the qualifications and the thing, they will not be, they can't go through an interview because they feel that they're all about only the disability.
Again, ma'am, it was really a very great point you made. Ma'am, I don't want to take you much time. So moving to my last question of this session. Ma'am, the question is, what can be the ways how we can appreciate the people, those who have some kind of disabilities?
Well, first of all, here's what I say. First of all, I think what we need to do is take off the disability lens, because all people with disability need are enablers. So if a person has a physical disability, the example being PVR, for example, in places where there were steps, we have either done ramps, or we've created a separate route from where the person can come, or we have now bought assistive devices which pick up the complete wheelchair and take it to the particular row where the person has to sit. In the new cinemas, we are consciously looking at inclusive design, so that we are, from the word go, we don't have to do assistive devices later. The structure itself is made accessible. Then for people with hearing impairment, we have for films that are coming with subtitles, and I'm also working a lot with the government to make sure to make it a mandate for films to come with audio description and captioning. But till such time that doesn't happen, because all films are not with captions. The films that are with captions, and if you look at our website, you'll be able to see that the wheelchair-friendly seats and companion seats have been marked. Shows that are playing with subtitles are marked. So a person a hearing impaired person who wants to go for a movie goes and checks the film, checks which show is playing with subtitles, and then books a ticket in those shows. For visually impaired, there is a very fantastic app called Excel Cinema, and with the help of that, audio description is available for people with visual impairment. And this is a breakthrough, because there are 7 countries in the world, and India is the 8th country where the app is being used, where a mobile phone app is being used. All other countries are using equipment and headsets and other things with the Dolby system. So point is that we have the technology and we have the wherewithal. Only problem is that filmmakers are not sensitive either. So they are not making films with audio description and captioning. You had mentioned people with mental disabilities. We have also got, we've also been doing shows for people with cognitive disabilities. In those are special shows. And what we do there is we keep the ambient lighting on. The volumes are low because people with autism don't like very loud sounds. Plus, there's a lot of space to move around, and people are allowed to move around if they want to. And these shows also are marked as special. So point is that if you or me want to go and sit in the show, you're most welcome to sit in the show, but that you cannot object that the light is on or the volume is low or that people are moving around, because these are meant to be inclusive shows where anybody can come, and people with cognitive disabilities can enjoy films like other people.
It's really great to listen, ma'am, and the kind of energy you have is really inspiring. Ma'am, it was really a very wonderful session with you, and also a healthy discussion with you over the topic. Thank you so much, ma'am, for joining and giving your important time.
Thanks a lot.
Thank you so much, ma'am.
Thanks.
Thanks for watching. Please like, share and subscribe.